it was funny because I kind of had a little, I guess you call it a mantra, but it was kind of corny. But for me, it was no job too big, no job too small. TJ Brown does it all.
Hello, everyone. This is Tim Brown, author of the book, Uncommon Athletes, Filled with Passion, Fueled by Purpose. I'm really excited today, audience, to have with me today my son, Timothy Brown Jr., who's joining us today. TJ is, I'm just so proud. Tell me a little bit about your son, what you're doing right now.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Dad, for having me. It's great to be on. Right now, I'm currently working with the Indiana Pacers as a Basketball Operations Coordinator. And so I've been doing that for about 3 years, actually probably kind of on 4 years now. So that's where I am currently at the moment.
Yeah, I know your parents, and being one of your parents, I know my wife and I, we're involved in basketball quite a bit when you were growing up. But where did you find your passion for the game? Where did your passion for the game come from?
Yeah, I think it came from you all, really just, kind of being around it so much. We did camps, leagues, tournaments all year long. And I told people too, another part of that was, licking the envelopes and, pumping the balls up, and just doing all of those things, as well. And then just having so much access to a gym. I mean, all the time, so I kind of told people this too. Like when I used to work in college, I was a little bit bigger because I worked in the weight room at Exum at Kentucky State. And so literally I would sit in a certain area, kind of overseeing the weight room. And, people say, man, you're starting to get big, like you're getting strong. And it was like, well, there's nothing else to do. I'm in the weight room, so there's nothing else to do but lift weights, every day. And so I say all that to say, that's kind of what it was for me with the game, is just being in the gym all the time and hearing you and Mom talk about it. And obviously you coaching and, Mom being involved. And, so just kind of is all I really knew. And, at some point, I just kind of developed a love for it. And instead of it being, you all's love, became my love as well. But also, too, your parents are your first, kind of role models, people you look up to. So I see you all doing it, and it's the fun and excitement and just lives that you could impact with it. I mean, so many people that I know now and that even helped me on my journey because of you and Mom, and all the people that you all have influenced, so I think that was kind of the start for me in terms of, wanting to play and just wanting to be involved in the game, really in any aspect. With you all, I've been a referee, I've done the clock, I've done a concession stand, so obviously even outside of the game, so, and then too, with you all being involved really in women's basketball more. And I always like to say that you guys didn't really start, boys ball until I came along, and then you wanted to get involved with it, of course, because I was in it. And then so, you coached me and all of that. But, it was just really just being around the game from you all and just developing that love because it was really all I knew.
Wow. I know besides your dad, who was your favorite player growing up?
Right. Yeah, it's funny. My favorite player growing up was Reggie Miller. Hands down, it wasn't even close. And I don't know how I, ended up, having that liking for him. I know one thing, and I don't know when the age was, and you could probably say, but, I really was able to shoot the ball. I was thinking I always could do, even from a really young age. And I know you had me in camps and, first we started out kind of with Northeast basketball, kind of really before you started kind of doing your own thing, you and Mom with, boys basketball. But then even going back to that, what was that guy? Was it Glendale? What was it?
Yeah, it was Glenwood. It was
Glendale, right.
Glenwood Rex.
Glenwood, right. So I was always a younger guy, because you have me out there young, even playing against older people. And so, I don't know when, but, the one thing, and I know one thing that you always harped on was shooting, and I know you say one of your main sayings that I always took to heart, always loved was, if you can shoot, you can play, so maybe I just kept hearing you say that. So I said, I gotta be able to shoot the ball. And then just thinking about, the best shooters in the game, for me, it was Reggie Miller. I love the toughness, the competitiveness, the clutch shooting, down the stretch, if you needed a bucket, he could get that for you. And I always wanted to be that kind of player. And, I just always would shoot the ball, always, even from a young age, I would come up with different ways to shoot. I would try to improve my form and my accuracy. And I would try to shoot from a deeper range. I've got stories. I'll just do one real quick. But we were playing. You might not remember this. It was probably 5th grade, 6th grade. We were playing Pickerington at Mifflin High School. I think we might have went to their place first. Then they beat us like 15-41. And so we came back to our place at Mifflin High School. That was our gym. And so I think we were down like 2. There might have been about 10 seconds left. And I think they were in the zone. And I was running point guard at the time. And I said, when I come down, I'm going to pull. It was in my mind. I'm going to pull from, I don't know, it wasn't half court, but it was like one of them Dame Lillard, Steph Curry. I was like, I'm going to pull because their zone ain't starting until like the top of the circle. I'm like, we got 10 seconds. So I think we was down 2 when I dribbled down and I just pulled it, I don't know if it was 30 feet, 25, whatever it was, and knocked it down. And I think a lot of that was, just like I said, watching Reggie, and, that was my favorite player. And I always wanted to, like I said, shoot the long threes and, make the game winning play for my team. So I think that's really where that came about.
Wow, that's a great story. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
That.
That's where we started calling you Downtown Timmy Brown.
Right. Yeah, and a funny story, quick on that too. I, one thing too, and we might get into this, but you did a great job of kind of seeing where you are as a player. And one thing that helped me kind of see kind of where I would be in terms of my skill set was I went to 5-star. Back then, 5-star basketball camp was a big deal, and you had me. I think Jonathan Stone might have went. We went together to 5-star camp, and just you had said Downtown Timmy Brown. So it was funny because I got to had like a 3-point contest or something. That's my thing. Shooting 3. So we won the 3-point contest. I finished the contest. I think I might have made the most out of anybody. And the coach put it to the side. Said, "Son, come here." I said, "Well, okay, what's up, coach?" And I don't remember what age you were. Maybe 11. So I can't remember the age. But he said, you need to start remembering something or something that people want to start calling you. And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Downtown Timmy Brown." So it was funny. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So, yeah.
So I know you went on to play high school basketball at Worthing Christian High School. And then from there, you went to Kentucky State, not to play basketball, but you were a great academic student. Went there on an academic scholarship and got a master's degree in accounting. And you also did a little work with the with the basketball program there as a graduate student.
Right.
Talk about that K-State experience.
Oh, it was great. I think, I kind of touch on Worthing Christian a little bit too. That was great experience, as well, just with Coach Weekly and, and that team and that group of guys, and just the academic experience. It really prepared me, for college. Experience at Kentucky State, as you know, is a historically Black college, HBCU. I know they're getting a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement around them right now, which is definitely warranted. Just because it's just an experience that, just allowed me to really learn and grow as a person and be around a lot of people, that kind of, look like me and, we kind of had the same aspirations, goals, and dreams in terms of pursuing higher education. And so, I could go on and on just, with the different mentors and the people there, obviously, Coach Graham at the Exum Center where I had my work study. He was very, very helpful, instrumental, in my life and just kind of giving me some life examples. Just on, just how to live and how to be a professional. Dr. Holmes, who is obviously very instrumental in my life, even to this day, as a lady who really just came in my life and helped me and molded me more so kind of in my later years as a student. And then obviously, in the basketball world, being able to be a graduate assistant on the men's basketball team, for 2 years. And then obviously, even after that, being able to come back, as an assistant, kind of a part-time assistant. I was an auditor at the time, so I couldn't be full-time, but it really allowed me. And honestly, that kind of helped catapult me into the NBA, but really just, everything, the family environment, the people, the experiences, I think they really shaped me into a lot of where I am today.
Yeah, that's awesome. As you said, you were auditor for the state of Kentucky and doing well, having a master's in accounting. And what led you to just leave that and pursue your dream of working in the NBA?
Yeah, that's kind of that's a longer story, but I think one of the things, because for me, I always wanted to work in the NBA, probably since maybe my freshman year of college. I don't know where I got it from, but I think probably if I had to pinpoint something, I think it was because I saw it, seeing it in Mr. Kellogg, your good friend. And that has been in my life, I've seen since I was a young boy. And just obviously knowing that he played in the NBA, and then knowing that he was a part of the Indiana Pacers front office, also that he was a broadcaster, so I always wanted to be all of those things. I tried my hand at broadcasting, did some of that too, at Kentucky State. So just kind of seeing him, and knowing that, hey, I can do this because I have somebody around me that has done it, so it kind of gave me hope, somebody I could talk to, ask questions, and I really understood it, and I really knew, what it was about. And so I think that always piqued my interest, even from, like I said, 18 or 19. But the issue is, and as you know, it's very hard to get in the NBA. There's only 30 teams, only a few opportunities. So I kind of always thought about it, and, I had, thought about it, whatever, but just kind of, like I might try it out. Let me throw an application out there a few times this year. Let me see what I can get. Won't really get anything. And kind of will go back, to doing whatever else I was doing. And so it's funny, I actually got to a point, this is an interesting story. So actually in a Sunday school class, I was probably about 28 years old. And, we were in Sunday school, and the gentleman who was actually the Sunday school teacher, who was actually around my age, and most of the people right at my church at that time, they had children, they had families and things of that nature, which I didn't, I still don't now. But it was interesting that he kind of said something. He said, well, guys, we're at a point in our lives where at our age, our career and those things are kind of in place. And, like this is probably what you're going to do, whatever. So I kind of caught me by surprise a little bit, because I always didn't really know. I was in banking. At this time I was in banking. And so I kind of went home. I think I might've slept through it. I was just kind of was thinking, well, if I'm going to do it, it kind of he kind of lit a fire in me. He didn't really know it, but it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to do it, I probably need to try it now at this point and just see it, just see if it'll happen, just give it a shot. And if it don't work, banking, finance, accounting, great jobs, great opportunities, great fields. I can always get back into it. And so I just it kind of lit a fire in me to try it. Like, if I don't do it now, then I'll never, then I won't look back on and say, I didn't give it a shot, when I knew up and down in my heart that there was the thing that I was most passionate about.
Wow, that's a great story. That's a great story of kind of stepping out on faith.
Yeah.
And I'm sure faith is part of your foundation. And it's ironic you talk about how the story that you heard that inspired you was at Sunday school. Was at church,
right.
Right. And that's how God works. That's where He really gets your attention. Looking back on your life and just watching how well you communicate now. I know growing up and being your dad, I know you were a stutterer when you were younger, and now just watching you communicate. Share that experience and how you kind of overcame that to be able to communicate as well as you do now.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I don't even know when, and obviously, because you and Mom, I know the dates and the times and the timeline and everything. I can't remember everything, but I do know that we got to give some credit to Miss Gail Lee and people of that nature at Sunshine Christian Academy, where I went to school. Miss Gail Lee was my second grade teacher, but just who, I don't know when it happened, but obviously I stuttered. But then there was a transition period where I began speaking. I began like doing speaking engagements where, literally, the Martin Luther King speech was my thing. And so, I started doing that. I don't really know the timeline on it, but I know that there was a change where I went from stuttering, and I was still kind of stutter. Even before I would start to do those things and stand up in front of these large crowds and speak, I might even be getting ready to stutter before, but then feel like once the words came out, everything just flowed. And then as time went on, I just kind of I was able to get better at it, and so I think that was I don't know when, but I think that was a big thing. And then obviously you and Mom, kind of pushing me to, do more when it came to the speaking, and I began kind of speaking on my own. We kind of realized that I had a really good gift of memorization. So I would memorize some really long passages and different things. And then you would kind of help me work on my passion part of it and enunciating my words and doing all those things. But, I don't know when it happened, but I think that, it was just kind of a perseverance thing. And maybe by me doing that, and speaking in front of people, it kind of gave me more confidence to kind of overcome, the stuttering thing.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing to hear. How it's one of those things that prepares you for your role right now. Because
Yeah,
obviously communication is important. You're around a lot of people, in front of a lot of people, and being confident and
right.
being able to speak intelligently, and then just holding a
Hmm.
conversation in the world you're in now. Describe some of the things that how you prepared yourself for your role right now. Talk about those internships. I think there's a lot of these guys who are sports
Yeah,
management majors who think they can just walk right in. Like you say, you filled out the applications, and sometimes they
right.
think somebody gonna knock on your door, come running.
Yeah,
Talk about that experience to get to them, your journey to get there, to get to where you are today.
yeah. I think there was a lot of things. One thing I thought about was kind of focusing on what I wanted to do. And really just kind of, if it's going to be the NBA, then I need to focus wholeheartedly on it, because if I'm giving my time to, okay, I'm gonna try NFL, NHL, and I just want to get into sports, which is fine too. But for me personally, I just felt like I had to really devote my full time to it, And so one of the first things that I did, which is kind of maybe a small thing, but to me, I feel like it was a life-changing thing in my life that helped me, was get rid of my TV, in my house. And it's funny because y'all make fun of me, come in the crib, and it was literally not one TV. There was no TV at all. But I got in my mind that, hey, because I was working full time, at the bank at the time, and I'm like, when I get home, because I worked hard, whatever the job was, I'm gonna work hard and do it to the best of my ability. So when I get home, I'm tired, so I just hop in the bed and turn on the TV till the night's over. And I ain't watching necessarily basketball or something that can help me get to where I want to go. So I think that was one thing for me that helped me, is just kind of more of a, okay, I got to focus more on what I want to do, and also to getting my mind right. You talked about Sunday school, and really, and as you guys know, you and mom and brother, sister, Nate, Carmel, I have a lot of books, and so I think that really started it by me removing that TV and just reading. Obviously reading the Bible, but just reading a lot of spiritual books and just things that help my mind and become more focused and sharp on how I wanted to approach things, and how to live for the Lord in whatever opportunity that I have, doing it for the Lord, not for man, and just really kind of like focusing on that. And I think it really helped me, because obviously there's, like you said, internships and different things. There's ups and downs in this path to get to where I need to go. And without the Lord and without, that foundation, and like I said, the Bible, and just understanding, what he wants me to do, and the fact that there's going to be obstacles along the way, and how do you deal with those things? Without the word hidden in my heart, I know for a fact I wouldn't get here, because I would have stopped a long time ago. And I really think that time of saying, okay, TV, I'm done. I need to focus in on the Lord, reading the word, committing my ways to him. Like I said, reading these books, being involved in the church and all these things, that really helped me. Obviously, a big part of it is, of course, watching the game, evaluating the game, staying around the game, those things too. But I think that was one of the springboards as well. But then getting into the internships, so when I quit my job, I had to find, obviously, before I quit my job, I don't want people to think I quit before I had anything. I had an opportunity before I quit my job, but I was in my mind like, hey, I need to, obviously I got to do something, to get to where I want to go. And so I did end up quitting my job, but it was after I ended up getting an internship with Impact Basketball. And my mindset behind getting that internship was that they train NBA players every single day. So my thought was, I'm not around NBA players right now. I'm at a Division II, Kentucky State. I was doing some things with the team at that time. But if I'm talking to people about wanting to work in the NBA and I haven't never been around an NBA player, how are they going to take me seriously? Or if I never really talked to NBA personnel or been around them, how's anybody going to take me seriously? If I've never been around NBA trainers or, that world, how, what am I doing? So I ended up, thankfully, they wanted me, they loved, they really were excited about me, and they let me come out there. And so, I was able to do that as my first internship. And I'll dive into it just a little bit, because I know you might want me to. One thing was that I want people to know, it was unpaid, and when we say unpaid, we talking $0, not, no, not 100, not $50 a week, not a stipend. We talking no money. And we talking long hours as well, because the job was more so, like I said, training NBA players, training pre-draft players, which are guys who are in their last year of school or whatever, had to declare for the draft, and they're training before the draft. And so really I was on the court rebounding for these guys, may get caught up in the drill, defending a guy, giving a guy a pass, but building relationships that way, being around agents and being around, players. And so that was something that I did for that internship. And that was basically the springboard to transition that into my first internship with the NBA, which was with the Indiana Pacers initially. So I did that for like 3 to 4 months. And then I ended up transitioning that into an opportunity with the Brooklyn Nets as an intern initially. And they were in a kind of a time period where basically they were getting ready to go under new management. So literally as soon as I got there, very next month, they hired a new general manager, Sean Marks. So when Sean got there, he was looking for maybe somebody more that'll be there for a longer period of time versus just that 3 months. I happened to be there and they really liked, what I brought, my work ethic, whatever. And so they kept me on for another year in more of a full-time role. So that was my first full-time job in the NBA, benefits and, the whole thing. And after a year of that, I kind of, they were transitioning again to basically another group of people. And so I didn't have an opportunity to stay. And so it was a blessing that literally probably 2 or 3 months before I knew that they were transitioning me out, the Pacers called me and said, hey, we would like you to come back in a full-time role. Mm-hmm. And it was a tremendous blessing because I knew, from my time with the Nets and my time with the Pacers, this is absolutely what I wanted to do. I don't want to do nothing else in my life, in terms of a career. There's nothing else I wanted to do. And so I was just like, Lord, I don't know what I'm going to do. If I'm out on the street, I don't know how, am I going to get back? Am I going to go back with a squad? What's the deal? And so it was just a tremendous blessing that, they saw something in me and wanted me to bring me back. And like I said in the intro, I've been here now for, like I said, going on 4 years. I think it'll be in August.
Wow, that's awesome. You hit on something there that I want you to kind of elaborate on how important relationships are. Because you had left the Pacers. Internship ended. You went to Brooklyn, was working for Brooklyn, and then you got that call to come back. Describe how important relationships are. Yeah,
I think they're ultimate importance. I think that's really the only one of the main things that has got me here. I think one of the things I always tell, because obviously I get a lot of phone calls from people asking me, questions or whatever, about how to get here or whatever. One thing I always tell people is that, like, you got to be a person that does your job, your current role, wherever you are, do it well. And it's funny because we go back to my Kentucky State days, our head coach at the time, Coach Maurice Moore, I was even talking back then about wanting to work in NBA, but I worked hard at my role there to the point that he actually has a brother-in-law who was in the front office for an NBA team. And so, he was telling me like, hey, Tim, I think they probably call me TJ, I'm sure. Hey, TJ, I'm gonna try to get you on, because, and obviously he wouldn't do that if it wasn't for the fact that he saw my day-to-day work. And he said, this is a guy that I can recommend. We talking about his brother-in-law. We talking about a person in his family that he wanted to recommend me to. So it just starts there. From that, obviously it didn't work out, but that just goes to show, like, you just got to work like your current job. Don't try to look ahead to what's ahead, because those people that are around you right now, you never know, especially if you're in a basketball type of job, you never know the contacts that they have to where you want to go. If it's NBA, I feel like almost everybody has, even a person of any basketball level knows somebody that has worked in NBA or is in NBA or whatever. And so you really have to make sure that your current job, that the people in that job that you're in now think highly of you and will want to recommend you. And that's really what happened for me with the Pacers, because after my internship, really towards the end of it, they talked to me and they said, hey, Tim, we're not going to be able to keep you, but at the same time, if you do find something, or if you get down the line with an interview or whatever the case may be, we will help you. Tell us, and we'll, they name the role. This person will call this, the whole organization will call for you on your behalf because of how well you did here. And so, that was really big for me. Without those relationships, I wouldn't have got to Brooklyn, personally is how I feel about it, without the fact that, they saw something in me to say, hey, if he wants to continue on, we want to support him no matter what. So, yeah, I think that's huge.
Hey, TJ, as we're talking to young people, what are some things that young people need to do if they want to pursue this dream, how to make themselves uncommon, basically to separate themselves from that stack of applications that come in?
Yeah, I think, one of the things, like kind of how we talked about, just for me, it's got to be personal, I think, to you, to your skill set and what you're comfortable with. But obviously for me, and it takes some thought, you got to kind of think about, like what is missing, as you, okay, let's just take for me for the NBA, as you're evaluating whatever the job is, whatever you want to do, okay, like where is there a gap or where is there something that I can come in and fill a need, or, and that kind of thing is just start thinking through that. One thing is but once you get that thing, send it out, send it out. It's easy to get people's emails and information. You even through LinkedIn or whatever it is, send that information out and say, hey, this is something I'm thinking about that I don't think that you all have covered it, or something that, I'd like to get your thoughts on, whether it's, to an NBA personnel person or whatever it is, but it's got to be something that's different, something that maybe they're not thinking about, and those kind of things. I think those things separate you. But I'll give you some things that people have told me why, I have been able to have some of my success. One thing was that student manager job at Kentucky State, because one thing that people have always told me is that, and this is how I got the job at Impact, and this is what they had told me, Joe and Drew, they told me that they look for student managers and grad assistants and people like that because they know that they've done every job, and so that's something that you have to think about, as well. And it was funny. And also it was funny because I kind of had a little, I guess you call it a mantra, and it was kind of corny, but for me, it was no job too big, no job too small. TJ Brown does it all. And, yeah. And so that was my mantra, that was kind of my mindset. And that was going way back to, the graduate assistant job. And I carried that on. Hey, whatever you want me to do, I'm going to do it. And I think you got to have that mindset when it comes, like you said, separating yourself. You got to have that mindset, and you got to have people that can vouch for you and say, hey, this brother, this sister, whatever I ask them to do, no matter what it is, they're willing to do it. And that's going to separate you too, because like we were saying, there's stacks on stacks of applicants and so many people that want an opportunity, to work in the NBA and even even in other sports industries. And so I think that's something that I think would be very important.
Wow, that's some great encouragement to some young guys and girls who are looking to pursue that dream. As we wrap up, this has been a great interview, but I want you to leave a gem that someone has shared with you on your journey. Give me one of those gems. Give me a couple of gems that someone has shared with you on your journey.
Okay, I think one is an easy one for me. Was just something that Mr. Kellogg would tell me all the time. When I had, I would bug him all the time. I don't want to say bug him, but, I would ask him, hey, you got anything, or, anybody that can get me on, in the league or whatever. And one thing he told me that was awesome. Cause at this time I wasn't even working in basketball. I was, and that could be some people now, who might not even, I wasn't even around the game. I wasn't really doing anything with the game. I just wanted to work at the highest level. I just figured maybe he had a shortcut for me, or he had a route, I could take it. One thing that he told me that stuck with me and that really helped me is that he said, Tim, you need to get involved where you are right now. What are you doing with the game at this current moment? He said, and so at this time I was in grad school, and he said, you need to get involved where you are now. And so the one thing that I knew I could do is potentially work with the team. I don't know if he came up with that, or maybe we and I kind of talked about it, but that was kind of what the first thing that came to my mind was, well, let me get involved with my basketball team. And so we go back to the relationships. I happen to live with the head coach's nephew at the time, that I wanted to, at the time that me and Mr. Carl had this conversation, and I was kind of starting to take it a little bit more seriously. And his nephew at the time, obviously his nephew still now, but his nephew was a student manager at Kentucky State. And so he was transitioning out to take a job with the Louisville women's basketball team. And so he said, oh yeah, it's all good. Like I'll just have it's just that simple. I'll just have put you on. And of course, he know me, he know my character. We kicked it every day. We hung out every day. So it wasn't like I was a stranger to him. And so, he got me a meeting or interview or whatever. And that's how I got on with the team. And that really catapulted me, to really where I am now. Obviously amongst other things, but that was very important for me. And really, that was kind of, but really, I wouldn't have really got to that if it wasn't for that advice, from Mr. Kellogg.
Wow, that's awesome. Just work where you are. I think a lot of guys, like you said, are looking ahead, looking for your next job. But what are you doing right now? What are you doing right now, to prepare yourself? And so that's great. That's a great advice for you and for someone that's listening to this today. Well, TJ, as always great chopping it up with you. Have to use some of these current words, but it's been good. It's been good. I am so proud of you and all that you're doing. And I believe that your story is an inspiration to someone else. But the most important thing is that your faith, your faith and your trust and belief in God. That the Bible says, if you commit your ways to the Lord, He will give you desires of your heart. It doesn't say that you'll get them, but He'll give you desires of your heart. But the key in that is you got to commit your ways to Him. And by you getting rid of that television, and starting reading God's word and just preparing yourself and look at God, at what God has done. And we know that there's more for it. There's more in store for you. So I appreciate your time. This has been good. And I'm looking forward to
thanks, Dad.
Hope prayerfully I know this will encourage someone on their journey. So thanks again, TJ.
Yeah, thanks, Dad. All right. Later.